It is so great to be with you here on this absolutely fabulously fine Monday here in the Bay. How's everyone's weekends? I hope you had a great weekend at your place. It was spring cleaning for me. I do it generally once a year, but I didn't do it last year. And when I say spring cleaning, I mean I hire in a skip bin and I do the big clean to end all cleans. I go through everything. We have loads that go off to recycling and to charity and to it's the purge. It is the great, great purge. So it was a big weekend for us. And then, of course, those who do watch rugby, and I am one of those people, it was the first rugby game test match of the year that we had for us here at the All Blacks yesterday. And I do have a confession to make. I was all ready to have cast on my Rebel and to do that during the rugby. And for those who, if you had watched the game, it was rather fraught. So I ended up having to put it to one side and started almost completing the crochet blanket that I have been working on. So I've actually been kind of good. You saw the hitchhiker last week, which I finally got done and dusted and finished, which I've been working on for months, just my pickup, put down sort of purse knitting, which has been around. So that is completely done. And then the other big project that I had, I've got a couple, actually one other, but that's having a week ziz at the minute. But the other project that I had was this large scraps blanket, which I've been doing for years and years and years. And I finally got it finished. So I've done the borders of single crochet all around the outside, and I'm literally on the last round with contrast, which I'll get finished tonight when I get home. And I thought, no, I will actually get that all knocked off and completed. And then I know that I've sort of almost got a clean slate before I cast on Rebel. But what I did do in preparation for this is I flicked out in the newsletter last week a video that Libby had put out on her podcast when she released the Rebel pattern, which was a couple of years. Now, for those who've only just joined us, if you're asking, Marie, what is this Rebel you speak of? Rebel is a design by Libby Johnson. It's been out actually 2 years now. It was 2 years ago that she released it, which is this chap here. It's a really fantastic summer weight popover cardigan. I know it's become a real firm favourite for her. She absolutely loves it and adores it and wears it. Everyone I know that's knitted it loves it. It's just an absolute wardrobe staple. What I like about it is it's got quite a narrow neckline. Like it's actually just, and she talks about it in a video, it's just a simple V separation like that for the neck, as opposed to something like this, which is quite wide across the shoulders. So this one sort of wears quite wide across the shoulders. Rebel has this, if these are your sides, this V-neck back, which makes it sort of fit. It's got actually a really nice fit across the shoulders. So we talked about the shoulder fit last week, and I'm going to go with my normal, just checking my shoulder width, playing around. I'm going to go with the normal measurement that I would do for a cardigan like this for me, which is a 44 inch, or in metric it is I'm going to go for around a 137 centimeter metric size, which because these sorts of cardigans do actually give it, I've learnt through experience that they do actually relax and stretch over time, and I've often knitted them too closer to my actual size, and then I find that this one will be case in point. This is the original Miss Jane, the very first one I ever knitted, and it's actually too big. Like it does slip off the shoulders, drives me crazy. I've knitted all the subsequent Miss Janes that I've done to a size, and in fact one of them I did 2 sizes smaller, and I've got a much better fit across the shoulders. So that is definitely what I'm going to do. Now, what I thought I would cover off today is that I know a few of you have jumped into this, and there were 2 things that sort of threw you off straight away, because it's a top-down cardigan. You actually start with a provisional cast on, and then with that provision, and to shape the shoulders, and with that provisional cast on, you then move straight into some short row shaping, which is kind of like jumping straight into the deep end with a couple of techniques that, if you've not struck those before, can be a little bit daunting. Now, there's a million and one ways that you can do a provisional cast on. I'm going to show you one, which is the way I like to do it. I just find it's easy and it's quick and it's less fuss, and it tends to use skills that we've already got. There's a whole heap of ways that you can do it. You can provisional cast on by using a couple of needles and casting over a cable and doing a whole bunch of different things, and they all work fabulously well. Take some time to jump on YouTube and have a look at some provisional cast on options. There might be something there that you would prefer to do. I personally like to use a crocheted chain provisional cast on. Sometimes it's called the zipper method provisional cast on, and I'll show you the reason for that in a minute. And so what you require for this is quite straightforward, because most of us will actually have these at home. One is a crochet hook, and pick one that is several sizes larger than what it is that you're going to knit. So we're knitting this using a 3.5mm needle. I think the hook that I've got and grabbed out here, I can't even, has it got a size? This is a 6mm hook, so that's the one that I grabbed. So you'd want sort of something like a 5 or 6mm hook. So that's what we've got there. And what you do is you ostensibly crochet a very simple chain, leaving 2 or 3, a couple of extra stitches than what you need for your provisional cast on. So I'm just going to do a very short amount. So a chain, if you've not done a chain, it is literally slip over and pull through. Slip over, pull through. So if I hear choruses, oh, but I don't know how to crochet, you can, and I'm going to even do it backwards to show you how easy it is. Everybody can roll over, do a yarn over, and pull your yarn through. It's all you need to do. You could even do it. You could even do it if you have to get your mindset out the sets that you don't crochet. You can even do it using your finger if you have to. Okay, so that's all we're going to be doing, crochet chain. So I don't want to hear any excuses that you can't do it, because you can. Right, so we're going to do this crochet chain. Of course, everything you're seeing there is backwards, but I just want to get this done. So, and it doesn't have to be too tight or too tidy. You're just going to be doing your chain. Now, I'm just using, I mean, honestly, this is a black pearl that I had sitting in my stray scraps thing. So you want to get some scrap yarn. I find if you're going to be doing this pattern, I'd be using a DK. If you've got a DK or a 10-ply, would be working quite well. And then you have got your crochet chain. So with a crochet chain, you always have this very nice, there you go, this very, let's do it there. There we go. That's better. This very nice braided section on the front. If you roll it over, is the camera going to pick that up? There you go. See how you've got the bumpy bit at the back? Can you see that? Come on, you know you want to. There we come on, Mr. Camera. I'm going to pick it up. Come on. You know you want to. There you go. So it's the braided little humpy bit at the back. Now, it's the humpy bit that we're going to use to put our picked up stitches into. So I've just gone and got some yarn, which is the same. It's just a lighter yarn, so it's going to be easier for you guys to see. So this is pretty much close to the weight that you would be using in yours. This is a 4-ply yarn, 4-ply sock yarn that you would be using in your garment. So all you need to do is, see those humpy bits? I would miss, there's the first one there. I would miss that one out. I'd miss that humpy bit out. And I would go into the next one. And you are just literally picking your stitch up through that hump. Then, oopsie, hold your camera up. Then go into the next hump. And you pick that up again. Go into the next hump. Pick it up again. So you're literally picking up and knitting through, I'm not very good at this, am I? Picking up and knitting through the humpy pieces. And that's the reason why I suggest that you use a much, much bigger needle to create a much larger chain, because it makes it very easy to see where those humpy bits are, but it also makes it very, very easy just with a single hand. I mean, I'm not using a second needle, I'm just using the single needle to be able to pick those up. And you know you've got it right because when you rotate your needle round, you can see the braid, sitting at the top there. Looks a bit like a caterpillar, really, doesn't it? So you can see your braidy bit at the top, and then when I flip it round, there's your humpy bits, like a row of pearl bumps at the back. So when you've actually cast it on and done a few rows, it looks a little bit like that. So you can see your braidy bit sitting at the front with your work sitting at the top. So don't panic about the fact that that's quite lumpy and bumpy down there, because we're going to be getting rid of that. That's the whole purpose of it being provisional. It's going to disappear. So that is so that's what it's meant to be going to look like. So that's how I've gone and done it. So then the next instruction that she had, once you've got yourself all provisionally cast on, is she jumps in and she says the first, so your next row is purling back, because obviously you've knitted it to cast on, purled back, and then you're jumping straight into a right side knit, and then you've got to turn straight away. Now, and this is where I know I've had a couple of texts and messages over the weekend, and one this morning, thank you, Letitia. And there is an instruction in there which is slip with a little, I can never remember, little chevron sitting next to it, and then it says purl, and it is quite an unusual instruction. In the abbreviations, the instruction has been listed out as slip one for German short row with yarn in front, slip one, pull yarn over the needle to the back, so the slip stitch rolls backwards over the needle with both legs of the stitch showing. So the reason for that chevron is to represent that's your stretched stitch with its two little legs showing. Now, I've had a little play around this morning. If any of you have watched my previous videos, you'll know that I do have a certain aversion to German short rows. Not that I can't do them. I'm just not overly fond of them, to be fair. Now, I played around with this morning before I came on air and actually did both. I did some short rows on here using both German short rows, and I did some short rows just doing standard wrap and turn. Now, based on the highly unscientific method of what I've just done here, there was very, very little difference between the two. But I'm going to quickly just run through the instruction as she's written, and then also just a straight wrap and turn, and then you can actually figure out which way it is that you want to do it, that you would feel comfortable with. I'm still yet undecided. I think I will possibly end up going with a wrap and turn because A, that's what I'm more comfortable with. But the other thing with the wrap and turn, I'm using a highly patterned yarn. And the yarn that I'm using is this sort of patterned yarn here. When it comes to the neatness of your wrap and turn, it will all get disappeared into this yarn. You won't necessarily see it particularly patterned at all. If you were using a plain yarn, the German short row is slightly neater than the wrap and turn short row. But let's have a little play around and I'll show you what I mean. So I'm going to knit part way across here. And then it just says turn. So I've knitted part way across and it says turn. So turn. Then we've got that slip instruction. So essentially, you slip the stitch purlwise that she's talking about, and then you're basically taking that yarn that you've got on the front of your work and stretching it, pulling it all the way over to the back. That's all you're doing. And then you swing it back round to the front and pull your way back. I mean, that's all it is. So it really isn't that difficult. So then with the purl, you got to the end that you need, you turn. With the pearl one, it's pretty much the same sort of deal. You slip the stitch, you pull it back the reverse way, and you give it a good tug, and then you slip it back round. And in fact, that's the one I found a bit, this is why I hate German short rows. Because you've got to slip it in front. And that's the one I always forget on the pearl back. You slip it round, give it a good tug like that, pull it back over. And then when you do it on you've pearled row and then you've spun it back round, you're not having to rotate your yarn all the way around because it's already where it needs to be. So you give it a tug at the back. It's already at the back for you to work on your knit row heading forward. So you knit to your knit row. Then she has here an instruction called knit one with a chevron. And that's basically when you get to your, and I'm just going to spin it around, can you see? You can see it. Your stretch stitch just there. See how it's kind of like a little double stitch? You're just knitting that as if it were one stitch. So you just go into the bottom of it, because the bottom of it's single, even though the back of it is wrapped, it looks double. And then you knit it, and then you carry on past. And then ostensibly what you get is you get this stitch, which will just be invisible and disappear. Now, you can do the same thing with a wrap and turn. And you can, where it gets to the turn, it says turn. I've done that just as my wrapped stitch. I won't be long. There we go. I'm going to have to go in a minute. You can do that with your wrap stitch and go back. And there is very, very little difference in it. I'm going to have a play around and see how I go. I'm also going to pop up a link for some German short rows for you, which will show you much, much nicer than my crabby, sort of very not fabulous video work here. And then you can have a play around on yourself. But don't be put off by those abbreviations and those instructions, because all that is, it's just Libby's way of interpreting a German short row. And once you actually get into it and you realize that, it's actually fairly straightforward. You actually repeat that a number of times, and then you start working into the nice. So once you've done that shoulder shaping, then you start working into shaping your back armholes, and it's nice and easy from there. So don't get yourself too, don't panic. Honestly, don't panic. It will be fine. Right, I'm going to have a quick check-in, and I've got Pete waiting for me, so I better be good. Everyone is here this morning. Annie, your marmalade sounds fantastic. She's listening. Look at this. She's listening and she's making marmalade. Sounds fabulous. Oh, look, and I'm so glad that Barbara is here this morning, because Barbara is responsible for the beautiful piece of artwork that is behind me. A beautiful piece of textile art. I think she made that. It's absolutely beautiful. Yes, and Janet saying she's really glad that we're covering this. I know it does throw you, and I thought it don't let it throw you. It isn't actually that bad. And you know what? Do the first couple of, what I would do, Janet, is try as she's written, because she does write very good instructions around those abbreviations. Just take your time and do it, and just follow the instructions as she's got written. Do a couple of repeats. If you find that you don't like it and you don't like the look of it and you want to try a wrap and turn, just unravel it, go back and do it again and do a wrap and turn. It's not the end of the world. I mean, it's right at the beginning of the work. If you have to rip it back, just figure out what works for you. Seriously, don't need to do it. So yes, so don't get too upset. Glenn, you don't need to know how to crochet, Glenn. And I know, seriously, what sort of work you can do, and you're more than capable of doing this, my friend. So fantastic. Good morning to Dee. I'm going to let you in on a secret. It was Dee's birthday over the weekend. Happy birthday, Dee. And excellent. Oh, great. It sounds like everyone is doing really well. And Fiona, I'm glad you like the provisional cast on. Honestly, this is the one that I like so much. I'm going to show you why I like it actually just before I head off and see the boys. Is when you're done, you just unravel your loop that you started off with, yeah, like that. And you ready? And hopefully this will work. Oh, and I've gone and done the wrong end. I knew that would happen. Let's go to the other end, shall we? You just undo your loop. Come on, you know you want to. This is the joys of live telly. Come on, you know you want to. I've got no fingernails at the moment. I chewed them all off watching the rugby yesterday. There we go. Right. And then you should be able just to, you should be able just to unzip it. And it's not going to let me do it next time. And that's us. All right. I'm going to let everybody go. You know what's going to happen is I'm going to go back and sit down and it's going to unravel just like that. All right, guys, I'm going to catch up with you again on Thursday. I'm going to have restocks for you on Thursday. Claire will be back. She's actually been having a few days off. And I'm going to show you some progress on Rebel. But until then, have a great Monday and I will see you then. Oh, by the way, school's back. Yes. All right, talk to you then. Bye.